Understanding the concept of rendering is so vital that we'll probably cover it many times in upcoming videos. But here we'll try to give you an initial basic understanding of what rendering is and why it is so important. In Satori, there are many default views we're programmed with when we start the game. Unless you examine these views, you'll be stuck with them, and all of those default views are meant to lead you away from game clues. One of these default views is that there is an external world out there, and that when you look around you, you're intaking that external world through your senses. Let's just talk vision for now to keep things simple. Behind you right now, there are things, perhaps a wall or other people or trees. When you look behind you, you will see the things that are there. This, of course, is not how a modern video game works. The scenes aren't there as externals, except in the sense of being information or possibility. Only when your character looks in a direction is the world rendered. In this way, a character can wander through an entire procedural, simulated universe, but relatively little computational power is needed to make the world seem real to the character, since pixels only need to be rendered when a character turns to look. Now, consider that of the electromagnetic spectrum, your eyes can only see about 0.0035% of the available spectrum of light. There are enormous amounts of light energies at play around you that your vision is incapable of sensing. One example is the thermal energy a human body gives off, detectable by machines that can detect infrared wavelengths and convert them to light that is within our 0.0035% of perceivable wavelengths. Humans are always giving off this energy, but our vision is incapable of seeing it. This is a clue that the world around us would look vastly different if we could see it from a rather unimaginable perceptual base that could, say, perceive all available electromagnetic wavelengths. One could see a similar situation to rendering. When we aren't looking, things are in full wavelength mode, but when we look, we render out of that mass of information a small bit, and our senses turn it into something intelligible to the human mind. Another possible way of seeing this is that we have no way of knowing if anything we aren't looking at exists. Anything we know to exist, we are perceiving through our senses, even if mediated by a machine such as a video camera. Such considerations aside, what is the significance of this idea of rendering? Here we must speak in subtleties that in time will be seen to be grossly significant. Our basic way of understanding what the world is and why the world is has a deep influence on our everyday experience of life. When we think of the world as an external thing that is always there, coming in through our senses, we will encounter life in one way. When we think of ourselves as rendering the world when we perceive it, we will encounter life in another way. In the first way, we encounter the world as broken up into pieces. In the second way, we encounter life as mutually arising. With the concept of rendering, the world arises mutually with our perception of it. There is no external world and there is no individual perceiver. Instead, these things we call external world and individual perceiver are one thing, arising mutually as they co-create each other. Furthermore, the concept of rendering implies that my consciousness can influence the render I experience. This is undeniably true in our everyday experience, but over time we will see that as we understand the rendering process more deeply, our ability to influence our render becomes more and more profound. Eventually, we may even come to feel the co-creative moment directly, and this delivers one of the most powerful clues in the game that can help us to solve Satori. In the next video, we will introduce virtues and how they serve as the keys to unearthing Satori's clues.